A woman spent the entire night humiliating our newest waiter, saying he was the worst server she had ever seen in her life. She laughed at him in front of everyone, but then she made a huge mistake. She proudly told us that she was a trainer at another location of our restaurant. And that night, it ended up costing her job. This happened back in 2015. At the time, I was working as a waitress while studying nursing. The restaurant where I worked had a very unusual philosophy. They didn't advertise. All of their reputation came purely from word of mouth. And because of that, management took anything that could damage the restaurant's image very seriously. I had already been working there for a few months and had earned the team's trust. I wasn't officially a trainer, but I often helped new employees when they started handling their first tables on their own. That week, a new waiter had just started working with us. He was an older man, a little shy and clearly nervous. He was polite and hardworking, but you could tell he was afraid of making mistakes. And that night was the first time he was responsible for an entire section of the restaurant by himself. His section was right next to mine, so I kept an eye on him in case he needed help. And he definitely did. At one point, he came up to me looking completely lost. He said, "They're asking for a dish that I'm pretty sure isn't on our menu. But the woman at the table says we have the ingredients and that another location makes it for her all the time." I could have told him to simply refuse, but it was his first night handling a section alone, and he was already nervous. So I suggested he quickly ask the kitchen if the cooks would be willing to make something similar. To our surprise, they said yes. It was basically an improvised wrap using ingredients we already had. So from our side, problem solved. Or at least that's what I thought. Because that request was only the beginning. The table had 6 people, all in their early 20s. And there was clearly a leader in the group. Every time the waiter returned to the table to bring something, she immediately asked for something else. As soon as he brought the drinks, she asked for sauce. When he brought the sauce, she asked for napkins. When he brought the napkins, she asked for another drink. It was almost like she was just waiting for him to mess up. After a while, I started noticing that he was panicking. Every time he walked past me, his face looked more desperate. So I began helping him quietly. While he was stuck dealing with that demanding table, I took care of his other tables, taking orders, delivering drinks, anything to help him focus on that impossible group. But nothing seemed to be enough. The woman kept being rude, impatient, and extremely demanding. She criticized everything. The way he spoke, how long things took, even the way he held his tray. At one point I found him in the kitchen area, and he looked completely emotionally drained. So I told him something simple. "Look, there's a good chance they won't leave a tip. But don't worry, I won't touch the tips from your other tables." I just wanted him to breathe and get through the night. But the situation got worse. Much worse. The group had arrived close to closing time. And when they finally finished eating, the waiter came to me with another question. He asked, "How do you apply an employee discount to the bill?" I was confused. Employee discount. That's when he told me the rest of the story. Throughout the entire meal, that woman had been mocking him. According to her, she was a trainer at another location of our restaurant, and she kept repeating that. She said he was the worst waiter she had ever seen, that at her restaurant, he would have already been fired, and that was why the other location knew how to make that special dish for her, as if that gave her some kind of authority. But it didn't stop there. She also claimed there were multiple birthdays at the table and demanded that we bring free cakes for everyone, and that we sing happy birthday immediately. At that moment, I was furious. Seriously, I was ready to defend that man right there. But then I had a better idea. I told him to prepare the cakes, but not to bring them to the table yet. Meanwhile, I went to talk to the manager. I quickly explained the entire situation, and I mentioned something important. Remember when I said the restaurant relied entirely on reputation? Well, our manager was extremely angry when he heard that an employee from another location was treating a waiter that way, especially while claiming to represent our company. So he said, "Handle it however you want." Meanwhile, he took the employee number she had given for the discount and went into the office to make a phone call. But I had my own plan. I ran through the kitchen and dining area gathering as many employees as I could. Waiters, cooks, even a dishwasher. I quickly explained what that table had been doing. And then I said just one thing. Let's sing happy birthday. When we finally brought the cakes to the table, we were practically half the restaurant staff. Probably the largest group that had ever sung happy birthday there. We placed a cake in front of every single person at the table, and the woman looked extremely satisfied. She had the smug smile on her face, like she had just won something. And then we started singing. But we didn't sing normally. We shouted. We sang happy birthday as loud as we possibly could. And since the table was in a corner of the restaurant, the sound echoed even more. It was deafening. I'm pretty sure even our own ears were hurting. And the song felt like it lasted forever. Their smiles disappeared instantly. They started covering their ears. Some of them even shrank down in their chairs because of the noise. And we just kept singing, with as much energy as possible. It was probably the loudest happy birthday that restaurant had ever heard. But that wasn't even the best part. While we were putting on that performance, our manager was in the office, calling the manager of the location where that woman worked. He explained exactly how she had treated one of our employees, and how she was using the restaurant's name to humiliate someone. When the bill finally arrived, she didn't get any discount. None. And shortly after, she was called to the host stand. Their phone was waiting for her. It was her manager. I saw when she started crying, and I heard when she started making excuses. But by that point, it was already too late. The company's general manager had already been informed. Her employee number had already been confirmed. And as far as we know, her job ended that very night. Maybe she found another job later. Maybe she even went back to that restaurant. Who knows? But one thing I know for sure. She tried to humiliate a man who was just trying to do his job. And that night, the entire restaurant made sure she understood exactly what we thought about that. And honestly, even after all these years, I still smile when I remember that birthday song.